I'm feeling Feelz right now. So I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to unbox a book. Music. So here I am. I don't really have a lot to unbox. But, I've kind of come to a sort of decision about some things that might put my read piles in a little bit of jeopardy. I still intend to go through them, but I also have a lot of other work to do. I need to firm up the connection between my blog, jnelsonleith.com, as you can see, and my fiction publishing, which has been done under Cenolithic Press, which I kind of retired recently. If you watch the Two John Sci-Fi podcast, you may notice that the opening credits switched at a certain point from being Fresh Pulp and Cenolithic to Fresh Pulp and jnelsonleith.com. I think I need to bring Cenolithic back out of the doldrums, a little nautical speak, and I need to actually focus on publishing some stuff, some novels that I've been sitting on. I have a lot that are within 85-90% of completion that I could put out, and I just haven't. I've just been waiting for something, and maybe the something has come around, and I need to start doing that. And also my fledgling Octagon Games, which is I'll put the little link here. There's nothing there yet. It's just octagon-games.com, and what I want that to be is a platform for card and board games, card games at first, that I want to put out, because I have I have so many novel and not novel ideas, but actual novels that are all but finished, and some game ideas that are all fleshed out except for basically getting the illustrations and printing them out. I need to really start focusing on that and make this a plan, a strategy. So that's my personal stuff that I'm having feels about, and I'm having other feels about. I'm having a lot of feels, which is weird for me because my Myers-Briggs, and before you start to tell me Myers-Briggs is discredited, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's not. You've been reading the wrong stuff. You've been reading tribalist stuff. I know you've been reading some Big Five stuff. It's not really, if you look at all the literature, it's problematic, but you can't. A lot of things. What happens with the Big Five advocates is they'll say that the Myers-Briggs is discredited, and then that there are correlations between Myers-Briggs traits and Big Five traits. You can't have it both ways. Clearly, the Myers-Briggs needs work, and it needs to be explored a little bit further, and it needs to be brought back from the sort of online survey type of garbage that the pop culture type of garbage. But I think that there are, obviously introversion, extroversion has its correlates in the Big Five, and the other traits in the Myers-Briggs need to be explored better. They need to be explored more rigorously. There's been a lot of pop culture shenanigans around it, and I accept that. But I still do believe I've always tested INTJ, INTP, INTJ, and I kind of go back and forth on the last one, which is, it's a quasi trait. It's not actually a trait. It's a trait that focuses on other traits. But my own assessments have been remarkably consistent in Myers-Briggs, and if other people aren't being consistent, and that calls that, you think that calls that into question, my issue with that would be that a lot of these personality trait assessments, whether it's Myers-Briggs or Big Five or Hexaco is another one that doesn't exactly line up with Big Five. I think it's valid too. There needs to be sort of a compilation of these into a sort of super trait system. But if there's something wrong with the consistency over time, or the correlation to other traits. It's about the self-report nature of the surveys. Self-report is very, very sketchy. We need to be a little bit more rigorous about it and try to find ways of assessing people's traits by things other than what they say that they do, because people will say that they do a lot of things, and I have a lot of issues with that, particularly when it comes to extroversion and introversion, because I believe that a lot of people who end up scoring high in introversion, whether it's on the MBTI or whether it's on the Big Five or whether it's on Hexaco, I don't believe that they're introverts. I believe that they're extroverts with some kind of social anxiety, which is not the same thing. To me, the key to this are the studies that were done recently, and I might try to find a link, but if there's no link here, I'm sorry. But there were studies about extroverts and introverts where they did positron emission tomography, or the PET scan, as you may know it, and found that introverts and extroverts process information on an immediate basis very differently. And that sort of test is what we need to focus on rather than self-report surveys. And I think we could probably redeem some of the MBTI traits, intuition and sensation, thinking and feeling. I think those are important. I think that they may end up being subsumed in the introversion-extroversion trait spectrum. And there's my noise. I forgot to turn my heater off. So if you hear a noise right now that just started up, it's because I forgot to turn my HVAC off, which I normally do during podcasts, and I apologize for the extra background noise. I'm not going to suppress it with audio tools because it tends to make my voice sound modulated. So just know that I recognize this annoyance. But anyway, back to what I was saying is I'm very, very... I'm not a big advocate of MBTI, but I think that it gets some unfair criticism, scientifically speaking. Unboxing the book. I've been waiting for this book. It's so beautiful. Look at it. This is... they did this again! Why? Look, they put the tag over the content. There's so much space here where they could have put the tag. No, they put it over the names of the people involved. Why? Why do they do that? I'm going to knock someone upside the head next time. Okay, this is Designed in the New World. This is colonial architecture. And if you've been watching my podcast, and if you haven't, shame on you. Subscribe, like, share, and all that other stuff you're supposed to do. You don't have to if you don't want to. I would like it. If you subscribe, you can see when the next time I make a fool of myself. But this is something, it's more of a picture book. This is like a coffee table version of the other stuff that I've had. It has some nice paintings, period paintings, so you actually get to see what things look like, and you can see, some of the, this isn't architecture exactly, this is furniture. But this stuff is, I got this one because it looked like it was, it really was. This is a terrible photo of what looks like a nice house. Very poorly lit. That's unfortunate. But look, I'm saying it's unfortunate. I'm still got a big stupid grin on my face because this is the kind of stuff that just fascinates me. You know what I would do? My limit on how, I'm not going to say what my limit on buying houses is because that probably would reveal too much personal information. It's not that bad. I could get a nice 18th or early 19th century house in, say, Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is kind of what I'm looking for right now. I'd love to be able to buy some historical property that was like $1 million. I can't pull off $1 million, not on my current salary anyway. But I could definitely get somewhere in the lower half of that range, considering what I pay for rent now in DC. You can imagine in Washington DC what I pay for rent. And I'll go ahead and tell you, I pay, because I used to live in Hawaii, and people always talk about how the cost of living is high in Hawaii. No. I had an apartment twice as large in Hawaii for the same amount I'm paying for a smaller apartment in DC. And in Hawaii, I had a balcony that looked out over Pearl Harbor. I could watch the sunrise over the Pacific. I was walking distance to the beach. I was living in a tropical paradise. And I paid the same for twice as big apartment as I do in DC. You know what's outside my balcony? Trees. That's it. So I pay a lot of money to live in Washington, D.C., and I chose to. You know, I had a dream to live in Washington, D.C. for a while, and I did it, and I've loved the time I've spent here. But now I want more, more bang for my buck, and so I'm kind of looking outside of D.C. And I can get maybe, I'm not looking for a manor house like Gunston Hall or Mount Vernon, but I would like a nice 18th or early 19th century house with the big fireplaces and the dormers and some history behind it, and it's well within my range. I just need to do some planning. I need to do planning on a lot of things. I've got so much planning to do. I've got planning on that to do. I've got planning on my websites to do, and planning on my fiction and my game design content, and I'm just kind of really, I got to shape up, and I'm kind of energized. That I can't explain it. Got a lot of feels. So I hope you like this sort of. I know my thoughts they get weirder every time, don't they? And now they're just getting weirder. And if you want to keep seeing me get more and more weird, then just subscribe and you'll get a little notification. And if you want your friends to see how weird I'm getting, like it and share it, because that's the way it's done. I hate to do this marketing stuff, but I know I have to. And I have to. So like, share, subscribe, and all that nonsense. And I'll be back here again with more of this silliness on Thoughts to Leave.